interested in lead, I looked at it and I said, oh, wow, I saw the acronym. It was like 4 or 5 CCC or NYCCC. I'm like, what is that? Okay, I'm not the smartest guy, but I know how to use Google. So I cut and paste, chucked it in Google, and saw that it was very similar to ASHRAE 90.1. What's that? Well, that's the energy code that anyone who's interested in lead knows about. So already knowing how to look up and find that stuff, those 4 points that are coming, you're going to beat your competition. So my suggestion to you is build a great team around you. Have someone that you're a phone call, an email, a text away from who can give you those answers. And I guess, you know, on that, the game is changing. It's going to keep changing in this area. And one of my favorite quotes, it's not the big that eats the small. It's the fast that eats the slow.
Very good, thank you. Now, I'm about to open up the floor to questions, but before I do, I thought of one other thing. I noticed that everybody on this panel used the word education. And I didn't ask you any questions about education. And everybody on this panel has said, well, the people in the room need to gain knowledge, they need to gain education. So I'm not going to go around the panel one more time, because we want to hear from you now. But what I would like to do is I'd like each person on the panel to think for a minute. And if you could give me just a 1 or 2 word answer of where you think are the good places to go for education and knowledge. Now, while you're thinking about that, I'll just tell you, I actually work as a teacher, and some of my students are here this evening. So if anybody would like to ask me informally, I'll be walking around after the presentation. I'd be happy to give you my thoughts about what are the best resources for education and knowledge. But let me just quickly ask the people on the panel, where do you think are the best places to educate yourself about the issues we've been discussing this evening? What do you think, Chris?
I go to my team. I go to the smartest guys on my team and I ask them. I mean, there's that old saying, you know, I might not know, but if I know the guys who's an MEP, if it's a MEP question in regards to electrical system, I'll ask him. If it's an auditor, I know an auditor. If it's a lead architect question, I know a lead architect who I can ask. So it's about building a really smart team. And the other thing is constantly upgrading your team. In sports, same thing applies to here. If you can find a better pitcher for your team, a better point guard, you upgrade your team. So if I find someone who's better, guess what? They're on the team, the other person gets moved out, and I'm always constantly upgrading.
Great, thank you. Emma, what do you think?
I mean, I think there's a number of places to take courses. Like I've mentioned CUNY, that we have a bunch of BPI courses. But in general, I think to keep on top of things that are changing this quickly, you need to stay up with the professional organizations. I think ASHRAE, AEE, the lead organizations, your local chapter, those are great places to find. Go to those lectures. There's lectures every single night of the week on this stuff. I mean, you can't even keep up with it. And you're always going to learn something new, and it keeps you up on the game. So that's what I would recommend.
Great, thank you very much. Stephen, your thoughts?
I would completely agree with all of that. And the American Bar Association Forum on the Construction Industry just had its annual meeting that was about green and legal issues with green. So, I mean, every organization, this is the hot topic. It's not that hard to go out, you know, 4 or 5 nights a week and find an event where people will talk and you can really start to dig into some of the details and drill down.
Yeah, I would say looking at the USGBC's website, regardless of your thoughts on the lead rating system, it is something that's prevalent and it has market dominance. So definitely go through it and peruse that and get familiar. And also I'd just say getting on the internet and going onto forums and blogs. I think those are great too, because you're also going to get a little bit uncensored information, and people will be criticizing certain rating systems and finding out what they think. So there's a lot of really smart people out there who may not even be in the industry, but they've tinkered around with something and they've got some good feedback, so you can learn some pretty cool just tips of the trade that you might not find on the professional sites.
Yes, I have to agree with the USGBC website. I think it's the broadest form of information, and even if you don't agree with their process, they really are covering anything that's on the avant-garde of what might be coming down the pike. So you can certainly learn a lot there. And I'd like just to mention the term green. We have a piggy bank in the office, and when anyone uses the word green, you have to put a quarter in. So hopefully we'll all be educated so we won't be using that word.
We as well are becoming anti-green on use of the word in any event. But, you know, I agree with everything everyone else here has said. What I do is I'm very interested in owners and contractors that have installed systems and just what their experience has been. And I think it's great to go to seminars and to check out these websites and pursue courses at CUNY and all of that. But to talk with people, I see a colleague over here who I know has utilized some of this technology in new construction, and just to find out how it's going and what efficiencies they're achieving and what are the negatives.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to open it up for questions, but first I'd like to give a round of applause to our speakers. Thank you so much.